My younger sister, 19, has come to live with me, male 25, during her summer vacation from college. As our parents live overseas, I've sort of been tasked with looking out for her. However, I try not to be overly protective and aim to be a cool older brother rather than a helicopter parent. After all, she is an adult. My sister told our parents that she plans on hanging out with her friends for a few days and that they wouldn't leave our city. Our parents thought it would be perfectly fine and agreed to it. The problem started when my sister told me that she actually planned to go camping with some of her friends, female 19, female 20, and female 20. I was cool with it and asked her to please keep her cell phone on so she could call me if she needed. She said that she and her friends planned on leaving behind all technology as they wanted the fullest experience. I thought this was a bad idea and strongly recommended that at least one of them keep a phone, to which my sister responded, they'd think about it. The day before the planned trip, my sister said they'd be joined by several more people, some of whom she described as a little sketchy. I told her that was a bad idea and that she and her friends should consider uninviting anyone that they thought was sketchy. I also insisted that she take her phone. My sister flat out refused all this and said I was being too controlling. I got annoyed and said that she wasn't going on that trip if she wasn't willing to compromise. She started yelling at me and called our parents, telling them that I was preventing her from seeing her friends. I told them how she planned on going camping with sketchy people, and my parents also refused to let her go. After the call ended, my sister started yelling at me again, saying I was annihilating her social life. Am I the idiot? You're not wrong for being concerned about your sister. I always have my cell phone with me when I leave the house in case of an emergency. However, you are the idiot for thinking you can forbid or prevent your adult sister from doing what she wants. It's even funnier your parents think they can when they live overseas. What's the plan? To lock her in a room with armed guards who will tackle her if she tries to leave? Sister is 19. 19-year-olds often don't have money. They do not have apartments. They often don't have jobs or vehicles. Neither do their friends. Sis may also be a college student, and her parents may be paying. She might like that to continue. Their money, their rules. Fully expect to see the sad story of Sis's disappearance on an investigation discovery show someday. Really, really terrible decision-making skills, even for a 19-year-old. OP is not the idiot. I agree. My wife and I are experienced campers. We like disconnecting. We would be idiots to leave our phones completely at home. What if someone got hurt and needed emergency help? She could get lost in the woods, trip and twist her ankle, cut herself with a knife, burn herself, get food poisoning, and be attacked by a wild animal. All situations where she could need evacuation. No phone, no trip. Period. Absolutely all of this. I've backpacked over 2,000 miles continuously. It was the most unplugged I've ever been. Carried a phone and a GPS satellite device for real emergencies, if necessary, the whole time. Don't screw around with the wilderness. Update number 1. Am I the idiot for banning my younger sister from camping? My sis and her friends were supposed to head out last night. However, sis never went. This morning, my sis told me that 2 of her friends who planned to go canceled also. This was because some guy in his 40s, whom they had never met, somehow inserted himself into a group of people going. Apparently, he was invited by someone. This man wanted to be the group's leader and planned to go somewhere more remote than initially agreed upon. He then told my sis's friends that he would hold on to everyone's cell phone so that they could all get the most out of the trip and technology wouldn't interfere. My sis agrees that that was a little creepy, but still says I'm an idiot for snitching on her to mom and dad, even though she was the one who called in the first place. My sister is still dependent financially on our parents and myself to an extent. However, I never once used this to leverage my argument. Regardless of whatever bad decision she may make or fight she may have with our parents, my door is always open to her. As of now, I'm sort of hiding in my room, as my sister is still furious with me. I'll try talking to her once she cools down. Holy moly, that update took a turn. The biggest red flag is reading the update about the random 40-year-old man wanting to go to an even more remote location and hold everyone's phones. This story took a turn from sketchy to heck no real fast. I'm glad some of her friends had the sense to nope out. Sounds like a potentially dangerous situation. Yeah, it was bad enough not taking a cell in general in case someone got hurt, but that update, it screams something horrible's gonna happen. I'm an adult, and I share my location with my mom when I'm out adventuring, just so someone knows roughly where I am if something happens. I still text her when I get home from a party or date. Nice to know someone's looking out for me, even though she lives in a different state. I'm glad you were looking out for her. Yeah, little sister needs to start watching some true crime videos, ASAP. A 40-year-old inserting himself into a group of 19-year-olds with no cell phones in the middle of nowhere? I'm sure the shovels and lime in his car are legit, and the guns are there to protect them from bears. OP, your sister's being entirely juvenile for even being upset with you. I hope this is a memory she eventually grows to cringe at. Update number 2. Am I the idiot for banning my younger sister from camping? I spoke with my sis, and she apologized. She fully agreed that the whole thing became too sketchy. She told me that had she gone, she too would have canceled like her 2 friends when she heard what Creepo had to say. I asked my sis about the friend that agreed to go, and she too canceled after Creepo insisted that she and her boyfriend give him their phones. Creepo then kicked them out of his car, and they ended up Ubering back to town. She told me she's afraid, as Creepo's been calling some of her friends, and she's scared he'll call her. I told her to give me your phone if he calls, and I'll speak with him. I do work in a police department, not a cop though, so I'm sure he'll screw the heck off once I speak with him. Thanks for your advice. My female, nearly adult brother, 31, and sister-in-law, 31, just had a baby boy almost a week ago. They struggled to have children for a while and did IVF to conceive. After they got home from the hospital, I went with the rest of my family to my brother and sister-in-law's house to see the baby. When I held him, my mom said something like, "You're going to be such a good mom. I can't wait for you to have kids." And I just laughed and said I won't have kids. When we left their house, my mom said it was rude for me to say I wouldn't have kids after my brother and sister-in-law went through so much trouble to have their baby. But I've told my mom multiple times that I don't want kids, so she shouldn't have brought it up at all if she thought it would offend them. I think she only commented about me being a good mom because she always tries to convince me to have kids. She tells me that I'm probably going to change my mind about it, that I'm never going to find a husband because most men want kids, and just straight up says, "You have to have kids." My brother and sister-in-law didn't seem offended by my comment. I think my mom was just offended by them. And I don't think it's a bad thing to not want children and to tell people that. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You didn't say you hated kids, or babies are smelly, or people who have kids are terrible to the environment, or really any one of those dozens of things you could say that would be offensive. You just don't want kids. Fine. Your mom is offended because she wants you to have kids and you don't want them. Well, she doesn't get to control that decision. So that sucks for her, I guess. But why is your mother so hung up about her 17-year-old wanting kids anyway? You're still a child. Mom wants a do-over baby. I wonder if she has a good relationship with daughter-in-law. I'm guessing daughter-in-law isn't a doormat and won't let mother-in-law play mama. Good Lord. We need to stop getting offended when people make different life choices than us. And your mom needs to take a chill pill. She wasn't offended by them. She used them as an excuse to get mad at you for calling out her BS. You are absolutely right. If it's such a touchy topic for them, why would she bring it up in front of them, knowing you don't want kids? Also, I know many people of all genders who don't want children. Your mom is sorely misinformed about, for lack of a better word, breeding norms in humankind now. I am a recently new homeowner who just moved into my home last year. My driveway is gravel, And if you're not familiar with gravel driveways, during the spring and summer months, you have to spray them regularly with grass killer to keep your driveway from becoming an extension of your lawn. I've been doing this about weekly since I moved in, and it's been keeping my driveway in good condition. I noticed immediately when I moved in that the neighborhood kids would use my driveway as a cut-through to get to their friends' houses. My driveway backs up to another neighbor's backyard on another street, and it's essentially a shortcut. I have no issue with the kids doing this, but I was a bit peeved that the parents didn't even ask me when I moved in as a courtesy. It's clear they've been doing this for a while with the previous owners, but it would have been respectful of them to make sure it's okay with me to continue. But whatever, no harm, no foul, until today. I sprayed my driveway as usual earlier this afternoon. As I was finishing up, the kids cut through. I stopped spraying while they were there, waved hello, and resumed once they had cleared the area. Thought that was the end of it, but I just got off the phone with a very angry mother of one of the kids. She told me I had no right to be spraying my driveway with harsh chemicals when there were children in the vicinity. I told her I've been doing this for nearly a year now, and I must maintain my property. I respectfully and politely informed her that if she has an issue with her kids being exposed to the chemicals, then they can find another way to their friend's house that doesn't involve cutting through my driveway. That's when she really doubled down and dared to tell me that her kids have been using my driveway as a cut-through for much longer than I've lived in the home, and I have no right to come in and change the status quo. I then said that I have no issue with her kids using the driveway, but unless she wants to purchase the home for me and start paying my mortgage, she has no right to tell me what I can and cannot spray on my driveway. Then hung up. I fear now that I've made an enemy of my neighbors, and it's about to get worse, and I regret not simply apologizing and sucking it up. So, am I the idiot for spraying my driveway and refusing to stop when asked by a neighbor? And now you know why the last owner sold. Not the idiot, but if one of those kids slips and hurts themselves on your property, you could face legal problems. This woman seems to be the kind who would take you to court over this. Put up a fence so no one can cut through your yard. Good fences make good neighbors. Suburban moms are crazy. It's weed killer, not child killer, and it's your driveway. Maybe you made an enemy, but she sounds like the kind of person who the only way to be friends with them is complete capitulation to all their ridiculous views and whims. Given how unreasonable she's being, there's a fair chance she's a known issue in the neighborhood. My uncle thinks it's funny to get me to run back and forth between the pool and the kitchen, getting him drinks. He'll say he wants a Coke, then claims he asked for a beer, then asks where his Coke is. He usually blames it on us darn millennials, always being on our phones and not paying attention. For whatever reason, my parents don't tell him to screw off. It started getting old a long time ago, and I usually dealt with it by making myself scarce when he was over. He was visiting over Memorial Day, and he caught me. He asked for a Coke, so I brought him a Coke. Then he said he asked for a beer, so I pulled out my phone and played the video I had recorded of him asking for a Coke. Like most of us darn millennials, I was on my phone when he asked, and I knew what was coming, so I recorded his request. He asked me for a beer because that's what he really wanted, so I told him I'd be happy to get him a beer after he finished his drink, because unlike his boomer generation, I don't waste stuff for the fun of it. He got huffy because he was just joking around. The next time he asked me for a drink, my phone was in my pocket, so I pulled it out and said I didn't remember what he asked for. Could he please repeat himself? He said he'd just get his own drinks. I told him that was a great idea. My parents think I was a jerk being rude to a guest and my elder. I thought I was just making sure he got what he asked for. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your uncle sounds insufferable. He enjoys having a joke at someone else's expense, but you played him at his own game and won. Nice one, OP. However, I would have stopped bringing him drinks after so many similar incidents. The fact that he got annoyed when you proved him wrong with the recordings just shows how much of an idiot he is in this situation. Some folks have weird ideas of what's funny, cute, or entertaining. when what they are, especially family, are rude, boring, and irritating. The family especially knows how to push our buttons. Of course they do. They installed them. $50 on OP being a woman. As a Latino person, my first thought was, tell me you're a girl from a Hispanic family without telling me you're from a Hispanic family. OP, depending on a house's layout, you could head towards the drinks, then just go elsewhere and do something else. If he comes looking for his drink, insist he never asked you for anything, what will he do? Say you're being an idiot child? He can get his own drinks. My boyfriend has been going through a divorce for the last 6 months. It would be over already, but his ex-wife won't agree to what he's offering her, even though he's being more than generous, considering they were only married for 2 years, and the bulk of what they have is because of what he had pre-marriage or what his family helped them buy. On top of that, he pays for everything right now, and she's just spending his money like it's unlimited on stupid stuff like luxury vacations. It bothers me because we're expecting. I feel like she's trying to sabotage our financial future and uses her son as an excuse so nobody calls her out. Unfortunately, his family has loved her since they started dating as teens. They asked my boyfriend about her in front of me because she's not responded to them, and they want to see the son. The conversation turned to the divorce, and his dad scolded him and told him not to make it hard on her, even though my boyfriend had done everything to make it easy for her. I wanted to defend him, so I mentioned how my boyfriend has been kind to her, and she's money hungry, which is why she isn't making it easy for him. The mood immediately changed, and his family was giving me rude looks. They all think she isn't like that, but she's just good at playing the victim around people. They defended her, so I defended my boyfriend, but he told me to stop. Now he's mad at me, since whenever I say anything bad about her, they start giving him a lot of crap. He told me not to speak about her ever again, especially not in front of his family. And I overheard his sister saying she couldn't believe he was still with me while on the phone with my boyfriend after this happened. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You say our future as if his money's already yours, and yet you're accusing the ex of being money hungry. These talks should be between him and his lawyer, not you. And FYI, his parents asking to see their grandkids and talking to their son about it is normal. If you can't handle it now, you're in for a long, hard life. Don't get pregnant with a man that's not even divorced if you don't want to deal with the divorce. It's as simple as that. Also, OP says they were only married 2 years, but within 6 months of dating, it's totally a good idea for her to get pregnant. I feel like a giant eye roll should have been added. Geez, girl, he ain't a quality guy if he isn't even divorced before getting the next one pregnant. What is it they say? Let the ink dry first on the divorce papers. Or she's been dating him for longer than they've been going through a divorce. I smell a homewrecker. Oh, honey, even if you upgraded yourself to the girlfriend status, you have 0.0 say in his money. She is still the wife with probably sound custody of his son. Let him get divorced, get married, and then you can go back in the talk. I agree. Let me come home, wreck your family, and then get mad. I can't just have everything. So they've just decided to divorce in the last 6 months. And boom, here you are, pregnant. Think I found the reason for the divorce. And she has a kid with him? You sound jealous and bitter. I hope she takes him for all he's got. LMAO. If my spouse and father of my child cheated on me and got the affair partner pregnant, I would absolutely take luxury vacations on their dime and get as much out of the divorce as possible. In the words of Lucille Bluth, good for her. My wife, 27, and I, male, 30, own a sizable farm that's usually the nexus of family events. My cousin Bill, 52, has a daughter, Alice, 18, from his first marriage. His first wife was an immigrant with no family in our country and no contact with any family in her home country. She passed away when Alice was a baby, and Bill remarried Tanya, 52, 6 months later. They have since had 3 kids, male teen, male tween, female pre-tween. Alice is a brat because everything in their house revolves around either the boys, their 2 oldest together, or their princess, their daughter together, and Alice is left behind. She doesn't get to go on family trips. They wouldn't pay for extracurricular stuff. She couldn't take elective classes with extra fees, etc. I'm not a smart man, but I can recognize a kid hurting inside and being neglected. She's been coming to work on my farm for the last 4 summers because her parents don't want her around over summer break. She turned 18 recently, and leading up to her birthday, her dad was very adamant that she was being kicked out of the house when she turned 18 because, quote, it'll teach her responsibility. We, wife Alice and I, discussed it, and early on her birthday, we pulled up with my truck and packed her stuff up. We only packed things she purchased herself or those given to her by another person. We got Alice on my medical benefits until she finishes university. She starts in a few weeks, so she's able to go to therapy, and she'll be able to get back into sports while still saving her money. This is where it all comes apart. Bill and Tanya are angry that we took her in and refuse to attend family events. Part of the family also refuses to attend because I'm undermining Bill and Tanya. I'll understand when I have kids. After they refused to attend events, a few others said that with gas being so expensive and not everyone attending, they'd skip as well. My answer of, okie dokie, come if you want, and don't if you don't, further upset people who thought I should have tried harder to get people to come. So now we're down to about 1/4 of the family in attendance for events. Taking Alice in resulted in a significant portion of our family siding with Bill and Tanya and refusing to come to family events. We have 1 or 2 big gatherings per year, and all the major holidays, Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, etc. So the older members of my family are upset that they're not going to see the grandkids, great-grandkids, and family members that live far away as much. My aunt suggested that we have Alice over the weekends and that she stays in a dorm during the week to smooth things over. I think that's dumb, but I'm dumb and stubborn. My wife thinks it's dumb, and she's astute, but also very much attached to the situation. Alice said she'd rather stay with us, but would try the dorms to help make peace. Update number 1. Am I the idiot for taking in my problem cousin and canceling family events? I ripped the Band-Aid off with the old fam jam and told them that fewer mouths to feed isn't the punishment they thought it was. Anyone else who was coming is still welcome, and I'd have the extra cash from not feeding so many people to help the folks concerned about gas prices make it out if they so choose. I'm in like 4 different family group chats, and they're all lighting up. My family likes to gossip, and they're quite efficient at it. If your truck breaks down with only you in it, 5 miles from home, word is reached every aunt and cousin before you're in your door. When I put the word out, it traveled fast. This morning I've been called all the names in the book, and some new ones, so a revised and updated edition of said book may be coming out. I've been told I'm a good guy, a bad guy, I'm stupid, I'm smart, I'm short-sighted, I'm thinking ahead. It's been neat. Long story short, I've got about a dozen relatives telling me thanks, and they'll buy me a pint next time they're out, and about triple that who never want to speak to me again. So those are both significant victories. Now, nobody here really cares about me. We're all about Team Alice here. She's going to be staying here with us until she's ready to start the next chapter of her life, whatever and whenever that might be. She's got classes picked out and is looking into the women's rec league for a hockey team when the season starts. So she's all set on that front. Regarding feeding everyone and paying for gas, without going into details, I was very fortunate as a young man to be working very, very hard at a job I was woefully underqualified for, while a very wealthy person was on site. Basically, the right place, the right time, and the chief took me in and mentored me. The chief has shared a lot of wisdom with me. One of the biggest ones he taught early on was insisting that someone pays favor and fortune forward rather than back. And when you help them, it makes the world a better place. We've made a lot of money on a business venture together, in addition to me working for him. And since then, I haven't exactly had a ton of money, but enough that I was able to buy the property I live on outright and build my home here with my wife, who also makes good money. Family's important to both of us, and neither of our sides of the family tree has much for money. So we've done our best to make sure money isn't a barrier to getting together and seeing one another. Now the big news. Tanya drove down to my house this morning. Bill and I had some very loud, very angry words when he drove down last night after I chose the nuclear option in the family group chats. So she actually waved a white flag from her car when she pulled up. I shooed the dogs and alpaca away and went out to talk to her, brought her out a muffin, and we chatted. Allegedly, Bill threatened to kick Alice out to scare her straight, and that they weren't actually going to kick her out, and they were caught off guard when we showed up on the morning of her birthday. I told her that she was missing the point, and that I'm not sure I could use small enough words or short enough sentences to explain to her if she thought that was the only problem. She cried, then peeled out of the driveway, and it's been radio silent since, which I'm currently enjoying. Thanks everyone for the support. Update number 2. Am I the idiot for taking in my problem cousin and canceling family events? So, about a year ago, Alice moved in with my wife and me on her 18th birthday after being told she needed to move out on said birthday from her parents' house by said parents. I'm here with an update at her suggestion. The good. A year later, she's a year into an engineering degree. She's been playing lots of hockey, raised a couple of steers all on her own, and at her therapist's recommendation, she's down to monthly sessions after a brief stop at bi-weekly after starting with weekly. She's the same sweet kid, but without the extra unneeded stress of being treated like an outsider alongside her younger siblings. The bad. Her dad showed up about a month after my original post, and there was a confrontation of sorts that ended with a peace bond being issued with restrictions on how Bill and Tanya could contact Alice, myself, my missus, or a couple of other family members that got involved. After the 6 months required by the peace bond, Tanya started getting back up to her old tricks, but Bill has smartened up a bit. The peace bond meant she had limited contact with her siblings, which has been tough. The oldest boy, Teen, started out pretty hostile, but some of the other cousins filled him in on what was going on. I got blamed for a sudden shift in attitude because we've established that I'm just the worst with everything. The silly. The gossipy family mellowed out when they realized that the literal gravy train wouldn't stop at the station for them. Thanksgiving last year was 26 people compared to the 60 plus that came the last year that I threw it before global restrictions. Easter this year was back up to an even 40, so we'll probably plateau a little short of the old numbers. As for a resolution to the problem, Bill has been texting Alice every couple of days to check in. They've gone for coffee a few times after the peace bond expired. I'd go to his funeral but not to his birthday party, were Alice's words when I asked her about where they're at. I hope time can heal that wound, but she's been good at setting boundaries. To quote one of the greatest warrior poets of our time, John Cougar Mellencamp, life goes on. I go to his funeral but not his birthday party? Please tell Alice that I'm stealing this. Pure gold. She sounds like one very bright cookie. Thank all the powers that be for you and your wife. Too many unhappy people in the world. Early days, but it sounds like you've helped save one of them. Go Alice, and every blessing. What a wonderful family you are. These are the stories that restore my faith in humanity. You and your wife are seriously good people and should not have had to endure criticism from the extended family. Bill and Tanya just didn't want their mistreatment of Alice to be exposed by her behaving after being treated like an actual human being. Alice is going to triumph over this because of you. Evil stepmother, idiot dad. Thank the gods you were there for this kid. I'm glad she's doing so well. My wife was pregnant with our first child. We weren't telling anyone yet because it was early. My mom was over at our house and noticed some obvious clues of pregnancy. She asked about it, and we were honest. We also asked her to please respect our wishes and not tell people because it was early in the pregnancy and we wanted time to absorb it. The pregnancy was unplanned, but welcome. My mom lasted 2 weeks before she started posting about becoming a grandmother. We hadn't told her yet that we lost the baby. I felt dead inside when I saw her post, so I commented, "Rachel had a loss a week ago." I guess it took about an hour for my mom to see the comment and delete her post. We've been getting condolences, which we don't want, and my mom's been getting crapped on by friends and family for being so insensitive. She's mad at me for not telling her that we had lost her grandchild. I think I was an idiot because I replied that I don't want her blabbing my family's personal life again. She's crying and my dad is saying that I have every right to be upset, but that I could have been nicer. I'm just so angry right now, and I don't know how to feel. Am I the idiot? We had lost her grandchild? What? Your mom has issues. She's made the entire loss about her. So sorry for what you and your wife are going through. Your mom didn't respect your wishes and posted your news on social media. There's nothing wrong with your response to her. She's butthurt that friends and family have, rightly, been calling her out on her behavior. You're grieving, and your mom's thoughtlessness and betrayal of confidence put her in the situation she's in. Take time out for you and your wife to care for each other. Yeah, your mom deserves every comment she's getting about being insensitive. She has no right to be mad at you. She ought to be groveling for your forgiveness. I think Dad meant, clearly, your pregnancy was all about your mother, and your loss is also about her, which is very upsetting to her. And now I have to deal with her, and you've made it my problem. I'd be ready to block both of them for the foreseeable future. She violates your privacy, and she's mad? You were clear. She was to keep her mouth shut. At best, you've staved off potential congratulations you would have gotten from all the people ignorant of your loss. Anyone seeing your mom's post would most likely feel compelled to say something to your wife about it. After learning of the news, they may show more tact and only respond if your wife says something. So sorry this happened to you. I, 24 female, have been with my boyfriend Jack, 25, for 2 years. We've been living together for just over a year. I've always been fond of cooking and usually make a lot of Asian dishes as I grew up eating a lot of them. So, as a result, I do use soy sauce and sometimes some MSG. However, when I got together with my boyfriend, he mentioned how he's very allergic to soy, so I had to be extra careful about what I make. He also mentioned how his parents dismissed his allergy, and we had a long discussion about his allergies. I take allergies seriously due to an accident with a family member a few years ago, so when we moved in together, I purchased an entirely new cooking set to ensure there was no cross-contamination. Last week, we went to see his family as they invited us over to their place. I've met them before, and we had lunch together at a local restaurant. However, we have yet to visit them due to how far they live. During the visit, Jack went to pick up his brother from a gig. Our car's a 2-seater, so I was there with his mother, Annie, while she was making a barbecue. At some point, I saw her adding a lot of soy sauce to the marinade for all the meat and said she couldn't do that as Jack is allergic to soy sauce, meaning he won't be able to eat it. Annie said not to worry and that Jack loved this marinade and she had already made the first batch. I reminded her again that Jack could not eat it and it wasn't safe for him. In short, we ended up arguing until Jack returned. When Jack returned, he was confused about why I'm arguing with his mother and ate one of the glazed wings in the marinade. I was shocked and tried to tell him that they had soy, but he said, "Don't worry, they're very tasty," and he's fine. I've asked about the allergies, and he said he didn't have any, and he just doesn't always like it in his food, as sometimes food tastes very salty with it. Now his entire family calls me a controlling idiot and demands a proper apology to Annie for insulting her cooking. I have apologized and said that this happened due to what Jack said, but they're not having any of it. I hate people who lie and say they're allergic when they really just don't like something. It makes it so difficult for people with real allergies to be taken seriously. You're not the idiot, but I would dump this guy. Just say you don't like soy sauce too much, man. But then saying his family doesn't take his allergies seriously? That's manipulative and borderline sociopathic. Yeah, he didn't just lie about his allergies. He does it in front of his family to try to make her look bad. That's disrespectful, hateful, and literal gaslighting. He doesn't respect you at all, OP, and he's shown that very clearly here. I'm sorry he put you through this, and it's best to cut your losses and dump him. Worse than that, he tricked her into cooking Asian food without soy. What your boyfriend has done to you is terrible. It cost you significant stress, plus a whole new cooking set. He fully lied to you, manipulated you. And for what? To have your meals seasoned according to his preferences? How controlling does a person have to be to do that to a life partner? The discussion should not be what you said to his mother. It should be whether you stay in this relationship. I'm currently on a weekend away with my husband's extended family. He and I are technically working from home over this week, so we took our laptops to the big house the family's renting. I also brought my baby's playpen because he's very active, and I knew there'd be times when one or both of us wouldn't be able to run after him. So anyway, I was watching him yesterday evening, Saturday, in the playpen, while I was responding to some emails that were urgent. My husband's cousin-in-law, Amy, walked past me with their young toddler and saw the playpen setup that I had. I admit she looked kinda tired, but I wasn't really noticing anything outside my kid and my laptop. She asked if I could play with her baby in the pen for a couple of hours so she could nap. I said no because I need to finish work, and then I was putting my kid down for his nap, and then my husband and I would cook dinner. It was our turn. I admit I did say, "Baby E has a dad, doesn't he? I saw him playing football earlier. Why doesn't he take over so you can nap?" Amy left, and I carried on the stuff I had to do. I noticed that she, her husband, and her mother-in-law didn't come to eat at the same time as everyone else. After dinner, my mother-in-law took my husband and me aside and said, I made issues between their family because Amy was mad at her husband, and Amy's mother-in-law thought I was interfering and should have just helped her out. Mother-in-law thinks I was an idiot because I could technically have watched over a kid that could only crawl when I was watching one who loves to run and climb. But my husband and I don't think it was my responsibility in this instance. Not the idiot. Sounds like Amy's a single parent, and someone finally pointed it out to her. Someone needed to remind her she had a baby daddy. Amy's problem with her husband has nothing to do with you, your husband, or your child. The mother-in-law can watch her kid if it's that urgent. You were occupied. It's funny how there's always someone in these stories to criticize people for not stepping up without offering themselves. Mothers-in-law could have watched if it was such a big deal, or the child's dad could have been a parent for the first time ever. Weird that mommy's mad at you for putting the idea in daughter-in-law's head that her darling son should help. Mommy is why Amy's husband ended up the way he did. However, I was pleasantly surprised by Amy. I thought she would be mad at you. Instead, your reasonable question about why her husband doesn't help her out with watching their kid helped open her eyes. You can't be blamed for that. It was a legitimate question that could lead to long-term improvement in his parenting.